Hi there, folks. Simon here. Welcome to the 2023 Intermediate Tack Open Tournament. This is the semifinals between MehrGills and Tones, and this is game 2. If you did not see game 1, go watch it right now because that was amazing. It was so fun, and I'm not just saying that. It was a killer end game. I thought it was decided several times long before the game ended, and it went back and forth, and it was awesome. I will also say, I didn't realize this until just now, MehrGills was talking about how in his round robin group, he almost went perfect in beating everybody in his group to go on. He did split 2 games with one other player, and that was Climace. Climace, who just took second place in the recent beginner tournament, who lost in that same beginner tournament to Tones, the other player who MehrGills is now playing against, except this time in the semifinals of this intermediate open. So that last beginner tournament had some absolutely phenomenal players, and I've said it before, but the majority of the players in the quarterfinals and semifinals have been from the beginner tournament that just ended. And one of the players who was in these quarterfinals, Gladiator Sum, he barely made it through, and it's because he was in a 3-person tiebreaker with 2 other players from that beginner tournament. So last beginner tournament was apparently stacked because this round of beginners was phenomenal. And if you're watching the stream, we have a beginner tournament coming up in just a few days, or a few weeks, but registration opens in a few days. If you're watching this on YouTube, the registration has closed and maybe the tournament's over. But holy cow, fantastic game 1. Really excited to see what happens with game 2. Just like last game and like every game played in this tournament, it is on a 6x6 board, as you can see here, and it is played with 15 minutes on the clock with a 10-second increment, meaning that 10 seconds gets added to your clock after every turn. Also, we are playing these games with 2 komi, meaning that if the game does not end in a road, 2 gets added to black's flat count score. You can see all that right here on these game parameters. So, really excited to see this game 2. This is MehrGills in white and Tones in black. So, without any further ado, let's jump right into game 2 of MehrGills versus Tones. All right, we see A1 drop. And this is such a bizarre opening, and I've seen Tones do it a number of times. He doesn't place his opponent in the corner, and I'm not sure why. I don't know what the reasoning behind it is, but it definitely throws me for a loop when he does something like that, when he throws his opponent slightly offset. Okay, so we're now seeing sort of a mirrored opening almost, except for that weird B6 placement instead of the A6. So this mirrored opening here, which was very common in the 2021 TAC Open. And now white placing that capstone in an absolutely perfect position. That is a great spot for it. It follows a lot of the guidelines for that we talk about in the capstones video of TAC University, but it's also just really strong placement. Even if it doesn't follow a lot of the guidelines, or like all of the guidelines, it follows a lot of them. And this placement is just so good because it goes for that horizontal, it goes for that vertical, cuts off black going for that horizontal immediately. Like, it's just really strong. And it can't be isolated anyway. It's in a really great position, able to do a lot of work. So white now placing down here at C2. And this placement is also very good for a number of reasons. This placement here is for that vertical threat that white's building towards, but also to stop black from going for the horizontal, going around it. So it's really solid spot. Again, white placing at B1, trying to cut off black, but also going for their own vertical. White can now build around here, potentially building at C5. Could decide to go for the horizontal build over at D4. Could build at A3. Does go for the E4, sorry, not D4. I am liking the position for white so far. Black, um, I don't know about black's positioning at the moment. It's a little rough. Black does have the capstone that is in play, but it's not in a fantastic position. White now playing above, and this is to go around this this black flat, sorry. But it's also working towards this E6 placement if black continues to place. E6 then makes a vertical road threat, and that's something that if you're playing too quickly, you can easily miss that because you're focused on this horizontal road that they're obviously building, and you miss the one that they were initially going for after they switched, or like before they switched gears. Talking is still hard. My brain is still slightly melted from that endgame. I can't imagine how these guys are feeling. If you didn't know, they just played game one and they took a 10-minute break, and now they're playing game two. And the end of game one was absolutely hectic and crazy because they were both below 10 seconds on the clock for several turns. And now they're jumping right in. And I didn't even play, and my brain is semi melted, so these guys have to be running on fumes at this point. Or they're just, better. So we see black place at c5. Now this seems like a very defensive play because he wants to be able to come down and cut off at c4. Ooh, comes down with the capstone, and I think that's a pretty solid play here. Now, if white comes up with c2, or, if they make this move, or if they come right with the capstone, like, not great. Now that white has played here, it is a tag threat. Black can come right with this capstone. And now this works pretty well for black, because now black's going for this vertical threat. And they can go on this line. Now, white can also cut that off pretty easily. Again, they can use their own capstone, come right. They can... that might be the way to go. Maybe they'll place a flat here at D2. They can use this flat to come up and kind of go for this horizontal again. They could have played in any of these places to go for the vertical and to kind of cut off black's horizontal threats. They come up with a capstone. I think that was the strongest play. It makes a lot of sense. White is going to want to play at D2 at some point, so if black played there, that would be pretty nice. Because white can't make a threat in the horizontal direction without playing at D2 first. White can make a vertical threat here if they decide to play at B3. B3 is a really great play for white, but D2 I feel like is really good. So black played at B3, and I feel like white should have played at D2 there, but they instead play it at B4. And I guess that's to stop black from going for this vertical here, which also makes a lot of sense. It's basically the same sort of play that I was talking about with white, making that placement to stop both of those threats from happening. Now black is also building up here, and this is to cut off white from going for this vertical, but also to build for their own horizontal here. Now white finally did play at that D2 position, ready to make some threats, ready to make some moves here. I'm interested to see what happens here. If white does eventually come down and black recaptures, white captures, then there's going to need to be something played, some wall ready to capture that stack. Then white spreads in whatever direction is opposite of that wall. Black playing off to the side. this likely to cut off white from building horizontally, maybe to go for some sort of vertical threat, but at the same time, white's not hurting for that. White can now play up here, try to put some vertical pressure on. White could also make those moves I was talking about earlier, kind of force something out over there. They do decide to make that b4 minus move. So this is attack threat. White can come up with d2 to make a road. Black's got to make a capture to stop it. If they come up, white's probably going to capture left, or capture right. Black brings the capstone over to stop that threat from happening. White then plays below. This helps cuts off black from going for that vertical. And also works toward making that horizontal down below. Now I'm trying to think if black, so white does still have momentum because white can make a move, make a road in 2 moves. I think what black needs to do here is cut off the anchor points. Black needs to be placing over there so white can't make that horizontal. Ooh, black drops a wall there, ready to come down and capture and liberate that captive. That's not a bad spot at all. That's a solid move. That definitely is a solid move. I like that one. What is white's response to that? To just play and make the threat. Just makes the threat. That's it. Nothing complicated. Just make the threat. Probably gonna do the same thing. Make the threat. Place there at f2. They do. They make the threat. Black comes down. This is where I'm thinking, oh, I expected a smash. I honestly expected a smash. I'm surprised there was no smash there. Why was there no smash there? What is white thinking? What is white thinking? Black makes a play up above, going for the vertical. Because black can play here and here. Now they've got the drawbridge threat. What is this? Why was there no smash? I'm so confused about no smashing. Is he gonna smash now? Was he waiting to smash? Until he had c4 there? Smash. He's gotta go for the smash, right? If he doesn't smash soon, black's gonna set it up so that he can't smash because then he'll lose to a road. Black will need to place here and here, basically. If black places in those 2 spots, then white won't be able to smash. But if black places here and here, that's a road threat. So will he pin the capstone from smashing, or will he go for the road threat? Will he have a chance to do either, or will white do something first? White could decide to make a capture up first. And that would at least make smashing a road threat. It's a tough spot. It's a tough spot. It's definitely a pivotal moment here. And we saw this in the previous game that both players will make moves that I do not see coming and will not make moves that I think are absolutely obviously the move you need to make. Oh, you know what I really like here? I like white placing up above at e6 or f6. I really like that because that's a threat. You take 4b3, right, 1, 1, 2. And that would be a road. I like that because that's kind of sneaky. Anytime when you're leaving behind your opponent's pieces in control, um, that's that's kind of a sneaky threat. And so I think up here, since black played at d5, you can play at e5 at e6 here to make it seem like you're making this defensive move. Because it looks like you're kind of protecting this e5 spot, and so they may miss it. That's one thing that I've done in a few of my matches, and it's something that has worked where you set up to make this offensive tack threat, but you never make the threat. You wait until you make the threat by defending against one of your opponent's threats. You make a defensive move and it makes it seem like it was purely defensive, but in reality it was setting up all along to make your threat. Now he does make that e6 placement, so this is the tack threat. It is the threat. I'm pretty positive Tones is going to see this. Pretty positive he's going to see this. If this happened when they had really low time on the clock, it would be very much up in the air whether or not he sees it. But I think right now I'd give Tones a pretty solid chance of seeing it. He did see it. Black captured up, stopped the threat, also currently now making their own threat. White has to make a capture here. Has to make a capture. I like coming up with the capstone. Um, is it the best move? Probably not, but maybe. It might be the best move. But I'm guessing not. That's probably a safer move. I was about to draw the line. F5 minus is the safer move. This way, white retains this position here with this capstone because they really want to keep this position to make this horizontal threat. It's a really strong position down here, and giving that up to stop black's threat when they have other options, probably not what you want to do here. So that's exactly what they do. They bring that f5 down. Black's not able to renew this threat immediately. They need 2 turns to renew it. White can make a threat right now by coming up with this or coming down with this. Those are the 2 I see right now. They could come up with this even. A lot of those work. A lot of those work. Goes for the wall, and I think a wall is smart as well, because you can bring that up and liberate the captive there, cut off black from any sort of connection. You've also got black's wall that wants to come down, and they can't do as much with it then. But this wall coming down is problematic because then you can bring that wall down here to mess up white's horizontal that they've been going for. But if you do bring that down, I think as white, I'm not sure what you would do there. If you would place a flat here, or if you would bring it down. There's a lot that can go on here. Black's setting up for the vertical, it looks like. The reason I say that is because you got this going on. Because you can take this up. So once black gets something up here, that's a threat. So you got a 2-turn tack threat. White's got a couple 2-turn tack threats coming down and up, like I said. I think in this case you would be wanting to do this one so that the wall has to spread farther to reach. White instead playing up above. Looks like they're going for a vertical over here. And black cuts that off, works towards their own horizontal yet again. Black's positioning has been really good here in this game. Both players are playing really well and placing in really solid spots. Playing very mixed of offensive and defensive. But it does feel like a lot of the moves are a little weak and hesitant. I don't know if that's just my perception or if it's sort of a byproduct of the previous game, of how hectic that was and how crazy the end game was. It might be because of that, that I might just be perceiving it as being more hesitant and not as aggressive. Or it might be that they actually are playing more hesitant because of the previous game or other reasons. It's hard to say. But it is important to note that they are playing for a slot in the finals of this tournament. And MehrGills did lose game 1. So he has to win this game if he wants to bring it to a tiebreaker. Tones can move on to the finals immediately if he wins this one as black. So definitely a lot of pressure from both players here. Black making a vertical threat. This is a road threat. So if black comes right or comes up, that is a road. White, I mean, it's possible white misses that. I don't think they will, but it is definitely possible. White may decide to bring this down or over finally, which would be making a tack threat and also cutting off black's tack threat. Oh, it's a tough position. This is definitely very much balanced on a knife's edge, which is the kind of position that I really enjoy because both players are so close to making a road that any misstep will cause disaster or a win. Either one. What's one to one player is the other for the other. This is definitely not the easiest of threats to spot because of how snaky it is. Like, typically I would say in a beginner tournament, they would miss that. However, this past beginner tournament, like I mentioned before, had so many really strong players that it's hard to say really who counts, what's going to happen in a beginner tournament. Again, one of these players is the player in black making the threat, was in the beginner tournament just a few weeks ago. Or, well, 2 months ago. But, still. Really excited for this new generation of beginner players that are just so strong. Oh, he missed it. He missed the threat. White missed the threat. Black's going to make the capture and win with a road. And that means Tones if he sees his own threat, that is, that means Tones moves on to the finals of this intermediate tournament. Wow. Congratulations to Tones. Well played to both players, obviously, but congratulations to Tones for winning game 2 of this 2-game match and moving on to the finals against Nitzel. That was fantastic play. Really, really well set up in the second one for sure. Really, really great play. And this second game, like, I can definitely see how they were both a little just wiped from their first game. It took a lot out of them, you could tell. And I definitely do not fault MehrGills in the slightest for missing that threat. It's easy to miss because of how roundabout it was. Like I mentioned before, it was super roundabout like that. It just seemed more roundabout than it was, even. So, yeah, well played. Nothing to be embarrassed about there. I'm sure you will be embarrassed because I know you pretty well at this point. But that was really well played, and congratulations again to Tones. That was awesome to watch. Yeah, I'm looking forward to the finals to see if this player who just played in his very first tournament in the beginners, who won it, can go on to immediately win the intermediate open against veteran players who've played in previous intermediate invitational tournaments like MehrGills, and who he's going up against in the finals, Nitzel, who has played in multiple intermediate tournaments and in multiple TAC Open tournaments. So we'll see if that experience is going to be able to take Tones off the board here. But thanks everybody for watching. That is all for today. Be sure to check out the description below for all things TAC, especially the TAC Discord server, which is where you can find all sorts of TAC resources like strategy guides and people to play with, whether that be right here on playtac.com or asynchronously through the Discord server itself. You can play just one move a day if you want to. But yeah, lots of people on there, lots of people to talk to and play with, and lots of resources. It's a great place to go. But thanks again for watching, and until next time, have a great day and happy tacking.